Welcome back to the Tan and J-Man Show live on the ISC Sports Network, as well as the free ISC Sports Network app and their Twitter and Facebook page. Go check us out, or you're actually checking us out right now if you're watching. So thanks for watching. This episode is brought to you by the Dam Landing. Whether you want an epic burger, hand-tossed pizza, hand-breaded tenderloin, seafood, craft beer, or handcrafted cocktail, the Dam Landing is the place to be. The Dam Landing is a bar and grill located on beautiful Lake Manitou that focuses on freshness and quality. Coming soon is the Dam Smoke, which will be available on weekends featuring barbecue and steaks. In addition, you can wash it down with one of their 16 beers on tap, including a constant rotation of today's best micro brews and domestic flavors, or a handcrafted cocktail, whether made using fresh ingredients. Take in the fantastic views of Lake Manitou in their beer garden or outdoor bar area. Whether it be boat or wheels, the Dam Landing is the place to be, located at 1305 Ewing Road in Rochester. I'm out of breath.
That's quite a read. Good job.
What's going on tonight, T-Dog?
Ready to talk some sports, man. I feel like we've got quite a show lined up, so I hope everybody kicks back, relaxes, and enjoys the show.
Got some Birdie Bogey for me?
Always. You ready for it?
Let's hear it.
I think I'm lobbing you a softball.
I wish you wouldn't say that.
Putting the pressure on you.
Yeah.
So, my guy, Raheem Mostert.
He's pretty good.
Had a great game yesterday. Historical game, really.
Yes.
Ran for more yards and more touchdowns than anybody in a conference championship game in the history of the NFL. His yardage was second all-time in a playoff game.
How many yards did he have?
I'll have to look it up.
Was
I don't
it
know
like 220?
220, 230-ish. There's one guy in NFL history who had more rushing yards in a playoff game. Can you tell me who it is?
No.
Well, you get all show to think about it, so you got a fighting chance.
All right.
And the Birdie Bogey is brought to you by, like it is every week, the Noble Gnome LLC. The Noble Gnome is a fresh, locally grown, nutrient-dense produce from Bryce and Katie Romine of Mentone, Indiana. You can like them on Facebook, Noble Gnome LLC. You can follow them on Instagram at Noble Gnome LLC. And you can check out their website, noblegnomellc.com.
Oh, sorry. That was my cue. Get your veggies.
There you go.
Forgot.
Get your vegetables.
I'm so thrown off not doing the read this week, guys.
You're just flustered.
I'm flustered.
You don't know how to handle it.
You ready to be educated?
Yes, I enjoy the On This Day segment. I like learning.
January
when it comes to sports.
20th.
I don't really like learning.
2020. But throughout history, on January 20, 1968, the Houston Cougars defeated the UCLA Bruins 71-69 to win basketball's game of the century and ends UCLA's 47-game win streak.
Interesting.
1970, the 20th NBA All-Star Game played at Spectrum, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Historical
the East beat the West 142-135. Can you name me the MVP?
What year was this?
70.
MVP in 70. Wilt Chamberlain.
No. Willis Reed.
Oh, okay.
Let's see here. We got a lot of Pro Bowls back before they moved the Super Bowl back. 1980, President Jimmy Carter announced U.S. boycott of Olympics in Moscow.
All right, I've read about that.
Get a little history lesson. 1980 Super Bowl, that would be 14. Rose Bowl, Pasadena, California. The Steelers beat the Rams 31-19. Who was MVP?
What Super Bowl was this?
I think it was Super Bowl 14.
Let's go with Lynn Swann.
Terry Bradshaw.
Gosh, dang it. I knew it was going to be one of the two.
Pretty dang close.
I knew it was going to be one of the two. Oh, man.
This one pains me to say. 1985 Super Bowl, that would be 19. Stanford Stadium, Stanford, California. San Francisco 49ers beat the Miami Dolphins 38-16. Can you name who the MVP was?
Montana?
Yes.
I was going to say, if I missed that one.
Last time the Dolphins have been in the Super Bowl, which is kind of pathetic.
Maybe next year.
You know, it might just be next year.
Hey, the Niners didn't make the playoffs last year.
That's a good point.
Finished the year strong last year.
Yeah. I've been wanting to do this since the first of the year to give our bold predictions for 2020. Do you have one ready? Because I have one ready. I've been thinking about it for a while.
I'll make one by the end of the show, but let me think about it a little bit.
But right now,
I didn't know this was coming.
I'll say mine right now. The Miami Dolphins in 2020 will make the playoffs.
That's pretty darn
That
bold.
is my bold prediction.
That's very bold.
For the year. Ton of cap space.
You got your bold prediction about Illinois football right last year.
Won
so
2 games the year before. I said they would make a bowl, and sure as God made green apples, they did. Luckily.
What?
Sure as God made green apples. You never heard that?
No.
Sure as God made green apples, the Chicago Cubs will be in the World Series. Harry Carey used to say that all the time. And they did.
All right.
A lot of AFC, NFC championship games, but last year, the famous or infamous non-pass interference call, Saints-Rams, happened last year on this day, and a great AFC championship game.
Yep.
Overtime, which for some reason I was under the impression that because the Chiefs did not have a chance to go down and score a touchdown and tie the game, that they had changed the rules for the playoffs this year, and they
did not.
Did not. I was sorely mistaken.
It's all right.
So, that is on this day. Hopefully next week we'll get some more Super Bowl ones.
I feel a lot smarter now.
They never have a lot of college basketball ones. They did have that UCLA.
Should be getting into it, I would think, in February a little bit.
Yeah, but nothing huge happens in college basketball world in February. That'd be like nationally or just a famous moment. Mainly just March for college basketball.
Good question. So. Or good point. Not good question. Good point. What do you want to begin with? Let's. You want to talk some more Astros cheating scandal?
Yeah, let's do it.
I mean, it just seems like more and more is coming out though as every day passes. Last week we covered kind of the initial breaking
suspensions.
Initial breaking news that happened. The suspensions of
AJ Hinch.
Yeah, Hinch and then the GM. I forget his name.
I do too.
Then they got fired by the Astros during was last Monday, wasn't it? We covered that, right?
Like an hour later they got fired.
But since last Monday, Alex Cora, manager of the Red Sox, been fired, and Carlos Beltran, manager of the Mets, been fired.
That is the most Mets thing ever, to hire a manager. Even during they knew the whole cheating scandal. That had broke by the time they hired him. Still hired old Beltran, and now they're looking for a manager. 3 teams now are looking for managers.
As a Yankee fan, it just makes you kind of smile and laugh. Your 2 arch rivals are just looking like clowns right now, but it'll be interesting to see who these clubs replace these managers with.
Dusty Baker, for some godforsaken reason,
the guy won't go away.
Candidate
for Houston, right? Like they've
I've
already interviewed him.
Houston and New York Mets. I haven't seen Red Sox at all. You know, he's a really good dude and great culture setter, but he's just not good once the game starts. Although I do think he's kind of given an unfair rap. If you will, kind of like the band Nickelback. You know how everyone's
I like Nickelback.
Always ripping on the band.
I don't care. I'm going to get ripped and feedback from this. I like Nickelback.
Nickelback. That's kind of like Dusty Baker. He's not nearly as bad as people make him out to be. Not great, but
I've never understood the backlash against Nickelback. Is it because they're Canadian?
It could be.
I mean,
all their songs sound the same.
They do have a similar tune, but
all that music.
I was a big Creed guy too, and Creed got ripped a lot.
Pretty similar, yeah.
I don't know.
They're kind of similar.
Whatever.
I like my comparison to Dusty Baker.
That's a good one. I really like that one. Good one, Jay.
Proud of that one.
We should do more sports to music to sports comparisons. I like that.
Cubs third base coach Will Venable interviewed in Houston for the job as well, but then he flew back to Cubs convention and had to answer a lot of awkward questions about it. I don't know who they're going to end up hiring. They have announced that Joe Espada is going to be the interim guy who was their bench coach, but he knew what the heck was going on. I don't know why he's gets a free pass.
According to Altuve, they're going to be back in the World Series. Might be against Nationals again, might not, but they'll be there. What do you think of that take?
I don't
talented enough.
Really know what he's supposed to say. I mean,
I'm surprised him and Bregman are even talking to the media.
Well,
really,
it's kind of funny because both those guys, that whole Astros team, loved the media attention. Now people are wanting to ask them questions and they're kind of shying away from it. Bregman didn't say a dang thing.
Are the Astros the most hated team in the MLB now by fans?
I would say, as of right now, this is the worst scandal. This is
worse than steroids.
I was going to say, this might be worse than even the PED.
Yep. This is worse than steroids.
It's a black eye for baseball. Really, there was only one team doing it because they never said the Red Sox actually did it in 2018. Just Cora was part of the Astros coaching staff when it happened, and he was kind of the ringleader of it.
When's the last time we've been discussing baseball this much in mid to late January?
I used to love to discuss baseball all throughout the year, but here
I know, but like seriously, when's the last time it's been in the spotlight this much?
In
when A-Rod got traded from the Rangers to the Yankees?
Was that happening in January? I couldn't.
I think that was February. Sorry, that was February. Yep.
Last year, I mean, Manny Machado and Bryce Harper hadn't even signed yet.
No.
Nothing happened last year before like middle of February, so we didn't really have anything.
So it'll be interesting. And then the Bregman Altuve stuff came out. You want to enlighten the audience about that?
With the buzzers on their person. I mean, we saw a video after Altuve hit the walk-off homer against Aroldis Chapman. He was rounding the bases, and he was telling his teammates, "Do not pull my jersey off," and pointed right at his shoulder where the buzzer would be. So they knew.
Yep.
They knew.
And then they asked him, even after that happened, why did you not want your teammates to take your jersey off? He said, "Oh, last time they did that, my wife got mad."
Oh, that's
It was like
a cop out.
But it's crazy how we didn't even think anything of that until now.
I do kind of remember being like, most people just rip the jersey out, but I didn't really think about it. But at the same time, looking back, it makes sense
fishy
now.
Yeah. A little fishy. So it'll be interesting, and you know the game of baseball way better than I do, but not too many people, if any, go up all the way to the front of the box with Aroldis Chapman pitching, and he was all the way up there.
He knew a changeup was coming. I mean, when Aroldis, he's throwing 102 mile an hour, you're not going to be up in the box. And Altuve, you could tell he knew the changeup was coming. Now, Aroldis did throw more changeups that out. His fastball wasn't there.
He threw more changeups last year than he ever has in his career. But
in Altuve's defense, Chapman threw a really bad one.
You're right.
But still, when you're throwing 100 miles an hour and a guy throws you something 89, 90 mile an hour, you're going to be a little out in front. And he knew it was coming.
Yep.
He knew it.
Yep. So, be interesting. It's funny how something can come out and change your whole perspective of an organization.
You know, I started hating the Astros before. I would say throughout the year, I did not like them, and was rooting against them throughout the playoffs before this even came out. So they were kind of starting to get on people's hate list anyway, but this just put it over the edge.
Yeah.
So.
Yep, and you mentioned Cubs convention, and I don't follow the Cubs very closely, so I just kind of saw a few things on Twitter. What was the drama with Chris Bryant's wife coming to his defense, and all this stuff on Twitter? Can you please enlighten me, because I really don't know.
So the Chris Bryant trade rumors and all that.
Sure.
It would have, I mean, he hasn't been traded, but still with the rumors and stuff, it would have been awkward for him to be there. He was planning to be there, but then he came down with the flu.
Yeah.
And people were saying he was faking it because he didn't want to have to answer any of the questions. But knowing Chris Bryant, he's just one of the nicest, most honest guys you'll ever meet. I've never met him, so I don't really know. But just everything I've read.
You'd like to meet him.
Yeah, sure. But he had the flu. People were freaking out about it, saying I don't even know what they're saying. It would be awkward when you're going through these trade rumor type things.
Yeah, absolutely.
And speaking of Chris Bryant, his grievance is supposedly going to be finalized, this whole thing, hopefully this week. They've been saying it for a couple months now, and it hasn't happened. But then I think you'll start seeing his name pop up in rumors more, and the Cubs being more active and stuff, because they'll actually have a resolution to the whole Chris Bryant grievance thing that Major League Baseball has had 5 years to make a decision on, and they haven't done it, and they, handed down all these suspensions and all this for the Astros after just a couple months, but they couldn't handle the Chris Bryant grievance, which is really kind of hurting the Cubs right now. So I'm ready for it to be over with.
Yeah, I knew nothing about that. I just kind of knew. I guess I had heard the flu, but that's all I really had heard.
And his wife came to his defense saying he loves the Cubs convention, one of his favorite events of the year, stuff like that. And so she came to his defense, as she should.
Yeah. Well, there's some big baseball will be in the news again here tomorrow, I believe.
Is it tomorrow? Wednesday? I'm not 100% sure.
I think it's tomorrow, but this will be more in a positive light as the 2020 Hall of Fame class is going to be announced.
Yes, sir. I'm going to go through the list because I have the ballot right here. Who makes the Hall of Fame? I won't do every single player on the ballot because there's just people on the ballot that have no shot at all.
Yep.
Here's an interesting one, though, which Josh Beckett. Will he get in eventually?
Yeah.
You think so?
Mm-hmm.
He had a pretty legendary performance for the Marlins in 2003. Mm-hmm. I say he is never a Hall of Famer.
Okay.
Barry Bonds.
Eventually. I don't know when. Eventually.
I agree. He should be. I mean, the whole steroid issue was something that happened, obviously, but you can't really. I mean, you can penalize a guy, and he's been penalized enough, but he's one of the greatest hitters of all time, and he deserves to be in. I don't think he gets in on this ballot, but
it's getting closer.
But his percentage keeps getting higher. So in Major League Baseball, you have to have 75% of the vote to get voted in. If you get less than 4% of the vote, you fall off the ballot completely. And Barry Bonds keeps rising each year, so I'm not sure what his percent. I've seen a couple. I don't know. Maybe 70% of the vote is in or something like that, and he's at, I want to say like 60 something. So there's very likely he's not going to make it this year, but he will eventually. Roger Clemens.
Eventually.
It's pretty much the exact same thing as
they're in the same category. Yep.
Type deal. Todd Helton.
I think he will eventually on like the old timer.
The Veterans Committee. I think
eventually,
they
but
kind of like what they did.
It's going to be a while.
I agree. He's one of the best left-handed hitters ever. He does get penalized. I mean, he shouldn't really get ruthlessly penalized for playing at Coors Field.
He couldn't help it, but
he did play there, and it's part of playing there.
He is the first Colorado Rocky ever to have their uniform retired, but a guy you'll mention here soon just became number 2.
Yeah. This one, I'm not going to ask you if he's going to make it or not. I'm going to ask if he's going to be unanimous selection in Derek Jeter.
Yes.
I think he will be a unanimous selection.
Except I could see some
just
jerk.
Well,
not doing it, but yeah.
I've seen people. Who was the first unanimous guy?
Mariano.
Was Mariano?
He's the only one.
Griffey wasn't?
Nope. Mariano's the only one. So
some old school baseball writers like to keep up the tradition of no unanimous, and
it's happened now.
Keep a guy's name off because they know they're going to get in, but they don't want to have a unanimous. So whatever.
Mariano was the only one.
The guy, I'm not going to even ask you because he's probably not going to be, but the guy I think should be in the Hall of Fame, and I've been saying this many times before, is Andrew Jones.
Oh, yeah, I agree. He will be eventually.
One of the greatest defensive center fielders in the history of the game.
He wasn't even close on the
bunch of homers.
Percentage of ballots I had seen last time. He wasn't even
Which
getting
is
disrespected.
Because he's really good.
Sure.
Cliff Lee.
No.
That's an interesting one. I would not say he's a Hall of Fame. He had a 4 or 5 year stretch where he had a Hall of Fame type stretch.
He's no Fred McGriff.
Crime Dog. Cliff Lee. Like the pitcher, Cliff Lee.
Sorry, I had somebody else in my head.
Were you thinking Carlos?
Nope, I was thinking Cliff Floyd.
Oh, Cliff Floyd.
I like Cliff Lee a lot, actually. I had his jersey on the Indians. I actually had tricked somebody one time that he was my cousin. But no, I think he eventually... I don't think he does. He did have a dominant stretch there, but I don't think he gets it.
Yeah. Andy Pettitte.
No,
I'm with you. Manny Ramirez.
Eventually.
See, he should be, but I don't think he will ever get in. One of the greatest right-handed hitters ever.
Yeah.
And I mean, he was a steroid.
People forget.
Accused.
Of course, he was good for the Red Sox. People forget how good he was as an Indian too.
Oh, he was stupid good. Him and Tomey out there. Scott Rowland.
No,
I would say
good player though.
Really good player. This is an interesting one. Kurt Schilling.
Eventually, he's a jerk.
Yeah, he's a jerk. People
Block
hate him.
J-Man on Twitter.
Yeah, he blocked me on Twitter. People hate him because of his political views and all that. He really good pitcher in his day, but the media doesn't like him at all, and that's who essentially votes on him.
He's another one, though. You think Red Sox, and you forget how good he was with the Diamondbacks, of course, and you even forget how good he was with the Phillies. Mm-hmm. So
he's a good pitcher. Pitched through bloody sock issue.
Yeah.
But that's a story for another day. I don't want to tell a story ever, so it's not going to come.
No, I don't want to talk about it.
Sammy Sosa.
I think eventually he does. It's going to be a while. I think he's longer than Bonds and Clemens.
I don't think Sosa ever gets on.
That's too bad.
I think if you're on the ballot 10 years, you just automatically fall off, and it's got to be getting pretty dang close.
Well, not only was the steroid thing, the cork back doesn't help him either.
That did not help at all, and that kind of alienated
just for
him.
batting practice, though, J-Man.
Yeah, with his...
Didn't he do that against the Rays?
It was against the
Okay.
Rays. I think it was the first time they ever played the
All right.
Rays. Shattered his bat. There was cork in it.
Yeah.
I remember watching like ESPN or Sports Science or something. They did a whole bunch of things with regular bats and corked bats. And they said corked bats, the ball will only fly on average like 4 feet farther than regular. So it doesn't help. It does help with bat speed and stuff. But anyway, I don't think he ever gets in. I think he'll just fall off the bat. He's like getting less than 10% every single year.
He's
so
a ways away.
it's an uphill climb. Omar Vizquel.
Man, that's a tough one.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say eventually gets in.
I'm going to say no.
Okay.
He's a great defensive shortstop. Didn't hit a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
Now back, if he would have played in the 70s and 80s, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Look at Ozzie Smith.
That's actually got to compare him to.
Ozzie Smith did not hit at all.
That's who I was going to compare him to.
He was so good defensively. But in today's age of baseball, I just don't think he ever gets in. It's kind of a shame because he's a likable guy. Played forever. Played until he was like 43. So Billy Wagner, name from the past.
No.
I think he should, but I don't think he ever will. The dude was dominant lefty closer. I mean, he was Aroldis Chapman before Chapman got baseball. Lefty threw 98, 100 mile an hour. He was small, where Chapman's 6'4", 220, and Wagner was like 5'10", just pumping BBs. But I don't think he ever gets in. Larry Walker.
Yes, this year.
I agree. This is his last year eligible to be on the ballot, and he will get in this year.
Be the first Colorado Rocky representative.
I would argue that he was a better player than Derek Jeter. The media loved Derek Jeter, but Larry Walker was a better hitter. Jeter was a mediocre shortstop, but made some pretty cool plays where people thought he was a really good defensive shortstop, but he wasn't. But I would say Larry Walker absolutely gets in this year.
And you've changed your stance on that. A few months ago you said no.
But I have softened up to the idea. My initial instinct when anything Rockies is to go the negative viewpoint on everything, but I've softened up to.
Well, they need some positive pub right now because they're going to probably trade their best player. And
better not be to the Cardinals.
It's the team that, on my Twitter feed,
Braves.
it's always linked to, but we'll see.
I don't know who the Cardinals could even give up.
There's a starting pitcher who won 16 games last year that keeps...
Dakota Hudson?
Yes.
Really?
He keeps getting linked, but do the Rockies really want that? I mean, and what I mean by that is they're going to have to develop pitching through the farm system. That's the only way ever. Through trades and free agency, it's just not going to work.
Dakota Hudson, he's good.
I know he's not,
but he's not.
I don't know.
Like a top of the rotation type arm like you'd need. Where the Braves, their farm system's loaded top to bottom, where they could actually put together a package for him.
I actually think Nolan will be a Rocky till the trade deadline.
Think so? It gets. If I'm trading him, I'm trading him now.
I don't know.
You get more for him.
You got to get what you want for him.
The problem is he has that opt-out after, I think next year's the opt-out. So some team's going to have to try to restructure his deal to take away the opt-out because that's probably a hold-up now is if you trade it for him,
might only get 2 years out of him.
Only get 2 years out. We don't want to trade a whole bunch for him. So it'll be an interesting one.
There's a lot of baseball talk for January, but a lot going on.
I feel good about it, too.
I feel good about it, he says.
Talk baseball in a while.
I was glad I at least could contribute to the conversation a little bit.
I appreciate that, too. I'm usually losing my voice when we're...
You really are. I'll try to do better this year. No promises, but I'll try.
It's okay.
Yeah, we had a lot of football to talk about. I forgot until the show was about ready to start that we had a college football championship since we were last recording. LSU beat Clemson in a game that was really good through the first half and then just kind of got away from Clemson in the second half. Joe Burrow was phenomenal.
As he has been
six
all
total
season.
touchdowns. He had 60 on the season. Just a legendary, unbelievable year. Cincinnati Bengals fans should be very excited.
Yeah, and they said they're not even going to entertain trading out of the top spot.
No reason.
They shouldn't.
Nope.
So
you can go get your franchise guy for a franchise that's suffered for a long time. So
LSU's going to be interesting next year. Their whole coaching staff almost. It feels
Joe Brady
like
went to the Panthers.
Young offensive coordinator. He's only 30, 31.
He's not even going to be the Panthers offensive coordinator, I don't believe.
Is he going to be the quarterback's?
I think he's going to be like a position or like a offensive assistant or something. He must have got paid.
I mean, you look at what LSU's offense did before he got there, and then they put up just insane numbers this year, just 1 year later.
There was a reason Coach O was trying to keep him down in Baton Rouge as long as he could.
Yes. Then their defensive coordinator, Dave Aranda, went and took the Baylor head coaching job.
Interesting. A school that produces a lot of points got a defensive-minded head coach. Actually, I think it was a good move.
Is Matt Rule was he a defensive guy? I'm going to go look it up real quick.
I'm not
100% sure.
Why do I want to say yes, even though I know he came from Temple? I don't know where he was there before there.
It seems like Baylor always puts up a ton of points, but never stops. They're kind of like an Oklahoma State,
It's
Texas
Big 12.
Tech.
It's the Big 12. The only team who stops people is TCU. And now their offense has regressed so much over the last couple of years, they can't win a lot of games.
He was a defensive guy. Well, he was a defensive line coach for years, and then he was quarterback's coach, offensive coordinator.
That's quite a
weird
transition.
Yeah, he was defensive line, linebackers.
But I think the coaching carousel is fully done now, barring something crazy happening with somebody. All the NFL jobs are filled. I think, Coach. I don't think there's no openings, not that I know of.
At least at big schools, we don't know about the smaller ones.
Yeah, you're right, but I can't think of any openings. So
no, usually NFL teams anyway wait until after the Super Bowl because a lot of people hire, or a lot of teams. There was, I don't know how many last year. I know the Dolphins had to wait until after Super Bowl to officially announce Brian Flores as head coach.
Yeah, because he was still coaching in it. But the Browns filled their position last week, and we didn't even talk, or 2 weeks ago, we didn't talk about that last week. They've hired the Vikings offense coordinator.
Kevin Stefanski.
Which was interesting because he had that title as offense coordinator in Minnesota, but a lot of people were saying Kubiak and Rick Dennison really were kind of more the developers or play callers behind the scenes, I guess. But
if I'm a head coach, I do not want the Cleveland Browns job.
Train wreck.
Absolute train. It's a career killer almost.
Yep.
And you see so many guys go there. I mean, look at Hugh Jackson. People thought, I mean, he was at Oakland, of course, but then people thought he'd be a great head coach when he was offensive coordinator or running backs coach, whatever, with the Bengals. And he won, 3 games in Cleveland?
Yep. And you just don't know what you have in Baker quite yet. I mean, heck, on the UFC fight the other night, they highlighted Myles Garrett. Baker sitting right next to him, didn't even mention him.
Baker was wearing a hat. You couldn't tell who it was at
first. Yeah, you could.
They're more focused on Nick Carter.
Yeah, 2 rows behind him. He got more pub than Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield's on every commercial on your television anymore. So
the ownership, the Haslams are just brutal. It sounded like one of the job requirements is to have an hours-long meeting with ownership on Monday to discuss strategy and all that stuff, which the owners need to just stay out of football ops. They have no clue what they're doing.
And I thought they had a decent GM in Dorsey. But
I did too. Canned him.
Have they hired a new GM?
They did. No?
Because I know the Colts assistant GM turned him down. So I didn't know if they hired. I knew their plan was to get a head coach first.
Which is weird.
Yes.
But I'm not 100% sure. For some reason, I was thinking they did. But now I can't remember who
I probably just missed it. But anyways, in the NFL,
they have not hired a GM.
Okay.
The Vikings' George Patton will meet with Browns second time this week and could be hired as GM.
And we were talking about the coaching carousel. If the Chiefs would have lost to the Titans yesterday, which unfortunately, for me at least, they didn't, do you think the Chiefs would have moved on from Andy Reid?
Absolutely not.
I think it would have been dumb, but they might have thought about it. Absolutely would have been dumb.
It would have been dumb. Which that actually brings me to something I wanted to talk about. Should the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, does that cement Andy Reid as a Hall of Famer?
Yes.
Okay, because that ruins my next point because I thought you were going to say no.
I think, look how many NFC championships he got to with Donovan McNabb, who I think McNabb was a decent quarterback, but he wasn't a Hall of Famer.
Yes. And
even got to one with him. And he got close with the Chiefs now last year and got there this year. He's won a lot of ball games.
Yeah. That actually ruins it for me.
But I will say, look at Dan Reeves, what he did with the Broncos and the Falcons, and he's not in the Hall of Fame. So
what I was going to do, if you would have said no, is to do a little comparison between him and another coach, a player A, player B thing. So I'm just going to ask you, whose career do you prefer? This guy, Coach A, 207 wins, 128 losses, 1 tie. He would be 15-14 in the postseason with a Super Bowl championship in 2 appearances. Next guy, 139-69 in his career, 9-10 in the postseason, 1 Super Bowl win in his 1 appearance. Coach A or Coach B?
That's close, but I'll go Coach A.
Coach A is Andy Reid. Can you guess Coach B?
Can you read them one more time? Sorry.
207 and 128 for Coach A with 1
just
Super
Coach
Bowl
B's.
champ.
I just need Coach B's.
Coach B.
Yeah.
139 and 69 with 1 Super Bowl victory in his 1 appearance.
Who in the heck was that? 1 Super Bowl appearance, and he won it. I don't know.
Tony Dungy is Coach B. So if you would have said no, I would have lined him up because Tony Dungy is a Hall of Famer.
And he's a great coach, but I was surprised he got in as quickly as he did.
Oh, yeah, he was just...
I really was.
I mean, he retired in 2008.
I mean, I was surprised he got in as quickly as I really am.
He was kind of a media darling, though.
He was good in Tampa, but Peyton Manning took him to another level.
That's the thing. Yeah, you almost have to have an elite quarterback to be able to do that, which Andy Reid hasn't really had until now.
Yeah.
So
he had a very
solid. But I would say McNabb was better now.
Didn't he get to the NFC Championship with Mike Vick, or did he not? Did Mike Vick get to the NFC Championship?
I think he did. Yeah, I forgot about that one.
So I mean,
and I believe he won a Super Bowl as offensive coordinator with the Packers.
Yeah, back when Holmgren was the coach. Yeah. So, the Chiefs beat the Titans yesterday, unfortunately, making their first Super Bowl in 50 years. They finally, their owner finally got the trophy named after his dad, Lamar Hunt Trophy. They had never got it before.
That's got to mean more than the Vince Lombardi Trophy, you'd think, for them. I mean, obviously, winning the Super Bowl is a lot greater, but just getting that trophy.
They got over the hump. They're finally there. They're going to Miami, where they will face the San Francisco 49ers, who just put a shellacking. Green Bay Packers. Did not see that coming. I thought that was going to be a closer game than the first game, easily.
I picked San Francisco to win it, but coming in, I thought Green Bay was going to do it. But Raheem Mostert put on a show.
Man, and he was awesome. I like watching him play, the way he runs, because he's flying, but it doesn't look like it because he's so smooth.
He's fast, man.
So smooth. And
he hits that hole quick, too. I mean, they had... it was San Francisco's first, I think it was their second drive because they went 3-and-out on their first. They ran it on 3rd and 8 from it was like the 28 or 30, something like that. And Mostert wasn't touched for a touchdown. It was impressive how quick he got through there.
He had 29 carries for 220 yards and 4 rushing touchdowns.
San Francisco 49ers threw it 8 times. Ran it 42 times.
Garoppolo 6 for 8 for 77 yards.
There are only 3 teams that have won a postseason game throwing it 10 times or less. Can you name those 3 teams?
No.
The Dolphins did it twice in the same postseason.
Well, Greasy. Yeah, Greasy barely ever threw the ball back then.
One was the Super Bowl, and then another one, I don't remember what other one. But then the other one before that was the Green Bay Packers in 1935. That was it.
Surprised he kept statistics back then.
That was old school smash mouth football. They have a great defense, great pass rush.
I love watching Kyle Shanahan's teams. His schemes are awesome.
Yeah, and he had like 3 running backs go over 700 yards this year.
Yep.
Coleman, Mostert, and Breda.
Well, unlike his dad ran all pretty much zone schemes, zone runs. He's running power. He's running all these different runs. He is a genius. And man, if I could just go back in time, take him over Vance Joseph. But
why was it? Because they didn't want the Shanahan? Is that
Joe Ellis, their president, was around when they fired Mike Shanahan, and he just didn't. I don't know if he was part of that decision with Pat Bowlen, but he just didn't want anything to do with the Shanahans. And if he did, Mike Shanahan would be the Broncos coach right now, probably instead of Vic Fangio, because that almost happened. John Elway was trying to make that happen after year 1 of the Vance Joseph era.
That would have been ugly.
Yeah, after year 1, he was going to get fired. And that's why, if you remember, after their last game a couple years ago, John said he had to sleep on the decision. Mm-hmm. That's what he was sleeping on. Joe Ellis was trying to make up his mind.
That would have been a disaster.
And Joe Ellis thought Pat Bowlen would not have wanted that. So
that would have been bad. One of your legendary
comes back
head
again.
coaches
It would have been
comes back.
Joe Gibbs.
And that didn't go well.
Art Shell went really bad. The Raiders.
Be like Shula coming back at 90 years old.
So, yeah, but Kyle Shanahan's a lot more innovative than his dad. But I am rooting hard for the Niners. Not only do I not like the Chiefs, of course, but I like Kyle Shanahan, like I said. Raheem Mostert, of course. He was at Purdue when I was a manager. Great guy. Worked really hard. One of the really nice guys on the team.
I was going to say, you always say he was one of the nicest guys on the team.
He only had 8, including 2 kickoff return touchdowns at Purdue. He had 8 touchdowns his whole career at Purdue. 8. He had 4 yesterday
in the
NFC Championship.
And he played with 7 or 8 teams,
including the Dolphins.
Including the Dolphins in 2015.
The Bears,
Browns,
Eagles,
a couple others. Finally found us. He's been in the right spot with Shanahan because he's going to use all of his running backs, and they're going to be successful.
That's what I thought. Richard Sherman, which I don't agree with a lot of things Richard Sherman says, but after the game he said, look at Raheem Mostert. He said, Kyle Shanahan finds guys to fit his team perfectly. You put Raheem Mostert on a different team, he's just your normal dude.
Right.
Yesterday, not only does he run for 220 yards, he's also playing special teams. And he's arguably right now, I know it's just he's on a hot streak, he's one of the best running backs in the league. You got to think he's got to get drafted high in fantasy rankings next year.
He'll be one of those players people draft in the second round and then release him in week 6.
Last year, he was having a good year, then got hurt. That had been his problem in San Fran. He couldn't stay healthy.
He's going to have to be the dude in Super Bowl because Tevin Coleman got hurt. I mean, he had to be carted off with an arm injury. I mean, if you're getting carted off with an arm injury, it's a pretty bad pain. Haven't heard a word about him.
He looked like he extended his arm to break his fall, and I couldn't watch replay. I looked away because I was afraid his arm snapped or something.
It didn't. It almost looked like it just jammed. But I'm going to Google.
I wonder if he tore a ligament or something.
Might even dislocated it, maybe. And who knows? In 2 weeks, he could be fine to go.
Another reason I'm rooting for San Francisco, besides
dislocated shoulder, hasn't been ruled out for the Super Bowl, so I bet he plays.
Thomas Davis played Super Bowl 50 with. Remember they stitched up his arm and looked like a football?
I do remember that.
For the Panthers.
Tevin Coleman has had a chance at a Super Bowl, but they lost a 28-3 lead.
Another reason I'm rooting for the Niners, besides the reasons I've already noted, Emmanuel Sanders was one of my favorite Broncos. He gets playing his 3rd Super Bowl. He's 2-0 in Super Bowls. Won one with the Steelers and then one, of course, with the Broncos. No. He lost it with Steelers against the Packers. I'm sorry. He's 1-1. Super Bowls, but
he wasn't there when they played the Cardinals.
No,
he was probably just a year or 2 away.
He was at SMU still. Yeah. Yep. So he's a good dude. His time in Denver didn't end that well, but the Broncos gave him a chance to go to a team that had a chance to win and gets to play in their Super Bowl. He is on a contract year. So.
I am rooting hard for the Chiefs because Tanner's rooting hard against them.
Yeah, I could see a lot of people. Mahomes is an exciting player. He's the best quarterback in the league right now. Pains me to say, but he is. I cannot
I said yesterday, he is the greatest quarterback of all time. That might have been a little far-fetched as of right now, but then I look on Twitter, and even like First Take was doing it. They were going through this argument. Now, my point being, right now, numbers-wise, obviously, he's not the greatest of all time, but he is the most physically gifted and best quarterback I have ever watched in my life. Best quarterback I have ever watched in my life. I watched Peyton my whole life, Tom Brady. Those guys come even close to what Patrick Mahomes can do on a football field. Aaron Rodgers is really the only quarterback that comes close, but even then, he's not even – I wouldn't even put him in the same league of what Patrick Mahomes is.
But definitely at his age now.
Sure, but even in his prime, I wouldn't even say it.
Yeah, he's very physically gifted. Yeah, I can't argue that. So,
and, of course, he could have a really bad injury, and his career could end short, but if he keeps on this trajectory, it'll be no. Especially if even if he just wins this one, he'll be known as one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, I think this team could turn into the next decade's Patriots. Maybe not winning as consistently, but I think they win one, they're going to win multiple.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you.
And
sure, we have the whole contract issue, but you lock Mahomes up and he'll take care of the rest. Peyton had nobody really around him. I mean, he had some good receivers. His defense were awful.
He also had Edrin for a while.
Sure. I mean,
who could be a Hall of Famer soon.
But they never won a Super Bowl with Edrin.
No, they didn't, but they were darn good.
Would Marvin Harrison or Reggie Wayne been nearly as good if they didn't have Peyton Manning one?
But Reggie was pretty good for Andrew Luck, too.
Sure.
Even though he was old.
Andrew Luck's pretty dang good, though.
Yeah.
His defenses were awful. Brady's never really. He had Randy Moss and Rob Gronkowski.
Yeah,
that was
he
it.
made he helped make
he
Wes
made
Welker.
He made Edelman,
Hogan,
all those guys. Even Amendola, and he really missed Rob Gronkowski this year too.
Aaron Hernandez.
And it showed. That Aaron Hernandez doc.
Yes,
we
that's
can talk
why.
about it a little bit.
Yeah.
On Netflix, it's phenomenal. You learn a lot of stuff about him. Some you probably don't even want to know, but we found out about him. But he's a pretty bad dude. That's about all I'm going to say.
Yeah, if you start watching, give yourself 3 hours because you're going to watch the whole thing.
Yeah, I started, I think, Wednesday night at about 7. I'm like, I'll watch an episode and do something else, and I just had to watch all 3.
I blocked out a space on Saturday to watch it and watched it all afternoon/evening.
Block out a space of your busy schedule, right?
Yep. Yeah, I got a lot of things going on, J-Man. Busy dude. But
it's great. Check it out.
We'll do our Super Bowl preview next week. We both picked the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl at the start of the year. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately,
you had the
Seahawks, and you had the Saints. At least they both made the playoffs.
Yes.
So.
Your team went a little farther than mine.
Yep.
So, whatever.
But it was the most boring weekend of games so far in the playoffs, but
especially compared to last year's.
Yeah.
Both games were awesome. Championship Sunday, and these were not. I mean, you had Titans got up 17-7. Like, are they really going to do this again?
After the Texans blew it last week, I
knew. With the Chiefs' offense, you knew it just wouldn't last. So.
But hats off to the Titans, man.
And
Tannehill and Derrick Henry and Dennis Kelly. What a run they made. So
that Titan team, even though they didn't make a Super Bowl, one of the greatest postseason runs I've ever seen as a 6th seed to get to the AFC Championship. It's pretty incredible.
One more note I want to make about the NFL before we pass. It's just kind of coincidence. It's kind of a neat little fact to think about. I hadn't thought about until today. The Eagles years ago fired Chip Kelly 2 years ago, and then 2 years later they won the Super Bowl. Niners get rid of him. 3 years later they make the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Anything related to that, or?
I think UCLA needs to fire him.
Yep, and then they can make the playoff.
Wait a few years.
And they can make the playoff, or at least win the Pac-12. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I'm like, that's interesting.
Poor Chipper.
Yeah.
Poor Chip.
So, all right, I want to talk some hoops.
Oh, really?
Why? Your team's on a hot streak right now.
It's going to come crashing down to earth.
They're ranked 21. What'd you tell me? That's the highest they've been ranked
since January of 2013, when they went into Purdue ranked 11, and DJ Bird slid 10 yards on his knees with the ball in his hand. No travel cause. Just
that was a bad Purdue team too.
That was a real bad Purdue team. I think they were under 500 that year. Illinois started the Big Ten play 2-7 that year. They killed a great Ohio State team at home, and then lost like 4 or 5 in a row, but then they got her back after the buzzer beater against Indiana propelled them to the NCAA tournament.
Your Illini went 1-0 this past week. They took care of the rival, Northwestern,
75-71
at home.
I will say survive. That Northwestern team, they're bad. I have to give them credit. They fought their tails off, hit a lot of tough shots.
That might not be a fun trip for you guys down there to Evanston.
It's not. I wish they didn't have to play there because they'll be wanting to that'll
be their Super Bowl.
I was going to say that'll be their biggest game of the year. Rival, about knocked them off in Champaign.
Yeah, just when I thought, I'm sure the J-Man's feeling good, they hit a 3.
They hit a 3, and they were still 1-1 too. But
did you about die on that inbounds play?
Yes, because I just know if Northwestern gets it back, they're hitting a 3, and I'm just gonna
1-3.
I'm just gonna want to jump in the lake with weights around my ankles or something. But they did stave him off. Io DeSuma, I said this in our group chat, he's probably the most clutch player I've seen at Illinois outside of like a Darren Williams.
I was going to say, yeah. The guy who wore number 5, that was pretty clutch.
Yeah, who hit some big shots in 2005. But Io, I mean, last year against Michigan State, he hits the dagger 3 with a minute left to go up 6. Same thing at Ohio State, hits a dagger 3 to go up 6 with about 25 seconds left. At Wisconsin, hits a 3 to go up 4 with 40 seconds left. Last week against Rutgers, he hit a huge bucket with about 40 seconds left to go up 4 and went 6 of 6 from the free throw line inside a minute. And then on Saturday, it's a mid-range jumper to go up 4 or to go up 5 with 20 seconds left. Then nails 2 free throws when it was a 1-1 when they were only up 2 with 7 seconds left. That showed some stones there to hit the free throws. Trent Frazier finally got going. I mean, he hit some shots. He hit some early, and Chris Collins said after he hit his first one, I was thinking, oh, crap. That's what Chris Collins said. Because, once Frazier gets his first one, he's going to hit a few others, and he needed to do it because they struggled defensively, which is weird because they played a bad offensive team and a really bad rebounding team, and Illinois struggled rebounding. They out-rebounded them by a few, but it wasn't enough, in my opinion. Northwestern, they're going to be good here in about 2 years. Start a bunch of sophomores, a couple freshmen. And they're pretty big, too, so I am just thanking my lucky stars they held them off, or I wouldn't have been too much fun this week.
Well, I think Illinois is second best team in the conference as of today.
Right now.
As
of next
week.
That
can all change fast. But
next week, this time, we say, I think they're about the seventh best team in the conference.
I will say they are the only team in the conference that I can guarantee that I'm going to laugh out loud at least once watching because of Georgie.
Georgie does some funny stuff.
He made me laugh the other day. He came in one time. And he was going to inbounder.
And he starts sprints and then he
stops and starts moving his feet like a defensive drill. I'm like, the commentators even commentated. I'm like, this guy's a clown, man.
He's funny to watch out there. I did
Loves
see
the game.
One old guy on the message boards was complaining, said, I went to a game and Georgie was as embarrassing as I've heard out there. I'm like, he's having fun, man. And he played well, too, had 13 points. Hit a couple mid-range jumpers. He hit 3 of them, then hit a huge 3 late to go up 9. It's funny hearing Andy Katz talk about him. So he talks about him like he's never watched him before, even though I know he has, because he says playing his natural position, the 4, which is just blatantly false. He's a 5. He's really struggled at the 4 this year. And he hit 3 mid-range jumpers, and I said it out loud to myself because I was watching it by myself. Andy Katz said, that's a shot right there. And I said, shut up, Andy. I've never seen him make one of those. I have never seen him make one of those mid-range jumpers, but he did. And they needed him.
So good win for Illinois. Also in Big Ten action over the weekend. We had 2 Friday games. Michigan State beat Wisconsin by 12, but the score was a lot closer than the game really was. Iowa beat Michigan by 7. Iowa hit a lot of clutch shots late. Luka Garza had 33 points.
That team scores some
on
points.
top of his 44 he put up against Michigan back in December, so he scored 77 points in 2 combined games against them.
Is he the Big Ten Player of the Year right now? I asked you this.
I said that.
Ago. Yeah, you said it a few weeks ago. And I
would say over Cassius, but between those two right now,
I would say Luka Garza right now, especially if they keep winning.
Penn State beat number 21 Ohio State by 14 at home in front of 14,000. They actually showed up at Penn State for once. Purdue lost at Maryland 57-50. Got it close with, I think they're down 3 with 2.5 minutes left. And
they need to stop getting down 1,000.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
10 minutes.
And hit some threes once in a while. That'd be nice. But no Joe Eastern had, his back-to-back games now. He's played pretty well. Had a good game against Michigan State. And 14 points, 6 boards, and really disrupted Cohen. I mean, he held Cohen to 5 points. I'm hoping he can do that to Io. Maybe not. I mean, but he's helped shut down Cassius and
he shut down Io in Champaign.
Yeah, and that didn't matter. No. So
when you score 37, you're probably not going to win.
And then Indiana did beat Rutgers for their first road win, and the Big Ten's what, 7th?
Nebraska.
Nebraska. Sorry,
lost to Rutgers.
For the Big Ten's 7th road win as a conference, 82-74. Trace Jackson Davis had 6th double-double of the year, 18 points, 13 boards.
They still don't get it to him enough. A lot of his points come off offensive rebounds.
They do. And then Rutgers beat Minnesota 64-56 yesterday.
They're ranked.
They are finally ranked. And last week, I still wasn't a believer in them. I'm believing in them now.
Thank you.
So they're pretty good.
Tough team. Got Geo Baker back, which he's probably their best shot maker.
Yep.
Jacob Young has played awesome. I didn't really know anything about Jacob Young until he hit like 4 threes against Illinois. He's transferred from Texas. Had to sit out last year. Was decent at Texas. Came off the bench for him.
Do you know Nebraska? Talking about new players. Nebraska has only 1 player that played last year.
Was it Thorpe Bjarnason?
Yeah. All the rest are
they have
junior college transfers.
And newcomers.
And grad transfers and just transfers. That's Hoiberg. That's what he does.
Well, he had to. He had to with that roster.
Well, and then they lost Roby early to the NBA. So
Palmer graduated.
I actually think they're playing pretty good for what they got.
Not bad. They're really bad defensively. They can score a little bit, though, which Hoiberg's teams always could.
Mm-hmm.
Defensively, though, they give up a ton. And they're not big. They're young, too.
Well, but before we pick some Big Ten games, let's go pick the two other local teams we talk about.
Butler had a real bad week.
They came back down to earth a little bit.
Lost twice. They're kind of regressing to the mean, which the mean for them still should be pretty dang good. But you knew they weren't just going to skate through the Big East like they had so far.
Wednesday night, you got the 11-6 Fighting Irish hosting the 11-7 Syracuse Orange. Notre Dame beat them on the road there just about 2 weeks ago.
Q's just had a big road win at Virginia Tech on Saturday, but give me Notre Dame.
Yes, I like Notre Dame at home in a close one. And then Notre Dame travels on Saturday at night game to Tallahassee to take on the now-ranked fifth Florida State Seminoles.
They survived Miami in overtime.
They're good at overtime. That's Purdue. They're good at overtime.
Yeah, that's a good Florida State team. They win.
And then Butler, they have a toughie tomorrow night.
They lost at home, blew a 12-point lead, and lost to Seton Hall.
You don't see that.
Seton Hall came back from 12 down at half to beat whoever they beat on Saturday, too. I don't remember. I don't remember who it was.
St. John's.
Yes.
Seton Hall is the best player in the country.
Is it Miles
Powell? Yeah. I think he's the best player in the country.
Yeah, I wouldn't say he's the best scorer. I was about to say he's the best scorer, but that's Marcus Howard. Yeah. Man, that conference has some
they got some scores.
But Powell, I would agree.
Number 13 Butler travels to number 9 Villanova tomorrow night.
Give me Nova.
I agree.
Three straight L's for Butler, who got shellacked by DePaul on Saturday.
And then they do return to Hinkle Friday night to host Marquette.
I think they win that one.
That could be a toughie, though.
Mm-hmm. Marquette's not bad.
But, I think they get that one done. But, yeah, the Bulldogs went from looking like a 1 seed to probably fell down a couple lines. Mm-hmm. Probably to a 3.
Still early.
Oh, yeah.
They could fall completely out of it, Butler fans.
Think about it. It's only January. John Rothstein. All right, we got you want to pick some Big Ten games? We got a whole week of action. Got 3 games tomorrow night. You got your number 21 Illinois Illini traveling to Mackey to face Purdue. Rematch from a shellacking a couple weeks ago.
I'm really scared that it's going to be another Purdue, Virginia, Purdue, Michigan State.
I hope so.
Purdue will win regardless. I'm going to pick a score, 75-63. I think they hit some threes like they have all year at Mackey. I think they win by 12. They're a better team at home. Neutral court, I think Illinois would probably be favored by a point or two.
Yeah, you're probably that's fair.
Home court, Mackey's as good as it gets.
And Illinois has not won there since 2008, correct?
2008. It was an overtime game.
That's their longest drought of any Big Ten venue?
Yes, it is now.
I just wanted
They won at Ohio State last year, which they hadn't won there since 2009, so it was still.
That seems like it's everybody's longest venue is Ohio State for some reason.
They were good. Yeah. They were good.
And they knocked off the Badgers at the Kohl Center, which was a long one for them.
That was 2010, yes.
Okay, so, yep. Yeah, I like Purdue, and I don't know why. I feel fairly comfortable and confident.
Absolutely.
Just because it's at home and they've been playing really well at home. Only lost 4 Big Ten games at home.
I just don't want to be embarrassed after getting up to 21st.
I want to embarrass you guys like you guys 21st. Embarrassed us.
You know, you have to win by more than 26 for you to actually win the season.
29. Like they did against Virginia and Michigan State.
They could do that. I'm scared Illinois going to score like 38 or something. That'd be embarrassing.
Got to get Kofi in foul trouble early. And Georgie, both. Just get them both foul trouble early. So, number 17, Maryland at Northwestern.
Give me Maryland.
I think Maryland in a close one.
I think it'll be close. I mean, Northwestern lost by 5 to Michigan State, at Indiana by 4, at Illinois by 4. So they're hanging tough. They just don't win a whole lot. But,
Nebraska at Wisconsin.
Yeah,
pretty easily.
Pretty easy.
Wednesday night, you got 2 games. Penn State at Michigan. Big matchup.
Michigan needs it. I think they get it done at home in a real close one.
I agree. Now, this is a ranked matchup now. Rutgers at Iowa.
What's Iowa ranked?
19th.
Give me Iowa.
I like them at home, too. I think that's a good one, though.
It's a great offense versus great defense. 2 completely different styles, so it'll be interesting.
Thursday night, Minnesota at Ohio State.
I think Ohio State bounces back. They need to start bouncing back, or it could get late pretty early for them.
They're down in the bottom of the Big Ten right now, but I like the Buckeyes at home as well. Number 11, Michigan State at Indiana, Thursday night.
Give me Michigan State. I don't think they get embarrassed like they did at Mackey Arena. I think it's going to be a pretty close one, and, man, if Indiana gets it, they'll be right up there, ranked talk.
Interesting thing in the AP today, Purdue received 9 votes. IU 6. And the record is they're 13-5 and Purdue's 10-8.
IU's played nobody.
That's probably why. But I do like Michigan State in a close game. Indiana beat them there last year when Michigan State was ranked like 3rd.
Remember that overtime game.
Friday night, Wisconsin at Purdue.
Give me Boilers. Mackey Arena, man. I'm never going to pick against Purdue at Mackey Arena ever again. I picked Michigan State to win there.
Yeah. You're doing reverse psychology stuff. Shut up.
I think I picked Purdue to beat Virginia.
Yeah, you did.
I did not. I can't.
I did not. So
pick against Purdue at Mackey Arena.
I will take Purdue. They got 2 home games, 2 good opportunities. They got to get it done. Saturday, Illinois at Michigan.
This will be the J-Man's Book of Prediction of the Week. I think Illinois splits this week. They desperately need it. I'm going to pick them to beat Michigan, just because I think that's the one that's most gettable. But I'm hoping. Obviously, I'd kill for a split this week. Their next 8, I could see them going 1-7, and I'd just be extremely happy with 3-5. But the J-Man's Book of Prediction of the Weeks brought to you by Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance Agent Travis Watching. Life, home, auto, renters, business, workers' comp, and farm. Contact him 219-869-4561 and travis.watching@infb.com.
I like Michigan in this one just because they're the home team. I think it's a big week for Michigan.
It's tough to pick against the home team.
Nebraska at Rutgers.
Rutgers.
I agree. And Sunday, we got 3 games. Number 17, Maryland at Indiana.
Give me Indiana in that one. I think they get it done. Maryland is not that great of a ball team, I don't think. They're ranked 17th, but
I don't like how we're agreeing so much, but I agree with you.
Yeah.
Number 11, Michigan State at Minnesota.
Michigan State. That's close. That'll be a close one, though.
I'm going to take Minnesota in the upset.
There you go.
I'm feeling an upset somewhere.
I wanted to pick it, but I just...
Minnesota upset Ohio State when they were undefeated, I think. Or
number 1, weren't they? Or 3, 2?
Earlier this year, so I think they do it again. And then Ohio State at Northwestern to cap off the
Give me Ohio State. Ohio State needs both this week.
Yes, absolutely.
Needs both.
They do. So,
give me a Birdie Bogey.
Right before we get to it, I got one more fact I almost forgot and I wanted to bring up.
Quick, bold prediction for 2020.
Ricky Fowler wins a major.
Knew it was coming. Knew it.
Come on. Tonight, the Lakers play the Celtics.
Yeah.
Do you know LeBron James is 28-0 versus Kemba Walker in NBA
28-0.
games?
No. Man.
Yeah.
That's a good stat. It's a good poll right there.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah. That's pretty bad from Kemba's part.
Raheem Mostert yesterday ran for a ton of yards. I forget what his yardage was.
220-something.
Yeah, I just brought up. Second most all-time in an NFL playoff game. Can you name me who is the all-time rushing leader in a single playoff game?
I have no freaking clue. But I'm going to have to throw out a name. It seems like it's Terrell Davis.
No, but that was a good
good guess.
Yep.
I know Lamar Smith for the Dolphins had like 200 and some yards, but I can't imagine he had more than
I think he's 3rd now.
Mostert. Because he did it against the Colts, had a long touchdown run in overtime to beat him. This guy can't still be playing.
No.
Oh, man.
Hall of Famer.
Walter Payton.
Eric Dickerson.
I was going to say Dickerson.
Ran for 248 against the Dallas Cowboys on January 4th, 1986. And then, according to my dad, the Bears defense held him to like 40 yards later in the NFC Championship. I think it was the NFC Championship.
Pretty good D.
Yep. Yeah, Lamar Smith was 3rd with 209.
Where was TD on there? Is he even in the...
He's 15th with 184.
What a terrible guess.
No, and he's 9th. He's 9th with 199.
Okay. Top 10.
Wow,
Top
he did
10.
it twice. Yeah. He did that against the Finns, January 9th, 1999.
Oh, they killed. That was like 38-7, I think, was the final score. 38-3, something like that.
Ryan Grant, number 8 for Green Bay in 2008.
Notre Dame boy. Remember him? I think he's Notre Dame, wasn't he?
Cool.
Neato. Thanks for watching the Tandem J-Man Show. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Noble Gnome LLC, Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance Agent Travis Watching, as well as the Dam Landing. Get your burgers. That roll.
Don't do it, no.
Like the veggies. You can find us on Audio Boom as well as
any audio platform
place.
So subscribe, listen, like, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, all that good stuff.
Like us on Facebook.
And we'll see you next Monday on the ISC Sports Network. Have a great week, everybody.